Welcome back to my channel. For those that are new here, I've had quite a lot of new subscribers over the last couple of weeks since the last video. My name is Claire and I'm a full-time artist based in Melbourne, Australia. And this is my vlog. This is just where I talk about my life as an artist and my life as a mum and things that I do. And yeah, so this video or this vlog, it's been filmed over the last 2 weeks. It's a bit of a hodgepodge of random things that I've been doing. There's a little bit of a holiday that we went on, some working in the studio, there's some digital art that I did as well. So I hope you find it interesting and I will pop back at the end. So if you watched my previous vlog, you might remember that I was starting a series of artworks based on the Barrier Reef and the holiday that I had in Cairns. Well, I did end up doing a few more of these coral reef paintings. This is one that I did a week or so ago. And yeah, I've really been enjoying painting them. I think they're really lovely. There is another one that I did that was a bit bigger, and I think I'll show that now. Yes, there it is. This one here. This is actually probably the favourite one that I've painted so far. I absolutely love this painting. It just, to me, it captures the feeling of the reef and the fish swimming around and everything just so beautifully. I love it. And the colours are really nice as well. They're not too over the top. So that's another painting that I did in that series. And besides that, I've also been painting some more landscapes. These are a few small landscapes that I painted recently. And yeah, this is what I've sort of been pottering around in the studio doing. I also recently purchased a few books that I thought I'd share with you. These are based on mostly still life books, and they've been incredibly inspiring. This first book is called Still Life, and it's actually a collection of Australian artists, all contemporary artists that use still life as their subject matter. I am familiar with a few of the artists in here already, but there's also some that I didn't know of. Elizabeth Barnett is one of my favourite still life artists that work in this subject matter, and she's contemporary at the moment. So I really love her work. She was one of the main reasons why I bought this book. But there is a whole bunch of really amazing artists, lots of different styles and genres, and they all talk about their inspiration and why it is they choose to paint in a still life subject. Some of them, the symbolism behind their still life works, and I found that really interesting to read about. A lot of these sort of still life paintings are not just, pretty objects. They have meaning behind them, which I didn't realize a lot of these artists had those meanings behind. I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense when you think about it, but at the same time, yeah, a lot of them have really interesting stories, and they have really beautiful large images of some of these artworks, and the detail and the texture in them are just beautiful. So I really recommend this book if you haven't already seen it. And another book I purchased was by the Australian artist Margaret Olley. She is one of the premier still life painters from Australia. She passed away a few years ago, but I wanted to learn a little bit more about her, so I purchased this book as well, which again has a lot of really beautiful examples of her work. It has a lot of her story and her life. I actually haven't finished reading all of this. I've only gotten through the first little bit of it, so there's a lot more writing and background and history that I need to read about. But I really liked looking through these pictures, and I've been inspired by painting still life a lot recently, and I kind of wanted to get some reference material and some ideas. So that's why I purchased these books, and yeah, it's really inspired me. And so I did spend a bit of time in the studio in the last few weeks painting some still life. I purchased all of these fake flowers from Target. In Australia. So Australian Target's a bit different to American Target. They have different stock, but they were having a bit of a sale on these bunches of Australian flowers in vases, and so I bought them, and I've been using them as inspiration for some still life. And these are just some watercolours of this still life setup that I have in my studio at the moment. This blue parrot I picked up at an op shop. A lot of the teapots and things I picked up at the op shop. So I've just been collecting things over the last couple of weeks, trying to get some interesting subject matters, and I've been having a lot of fun painting them. So this was one of the paintings that I did recently of this little setup that I have in my studio. I feel like I've made a lot of progress with this still life. in that I think I did a video a few weeks ago of me painting a duck and some vases, and I think I've progressed a lot from there. Looking back at the painting of the duck and the vase, it was very sparse and quite tight, and I feel like the more I paint these little still life arrangements, the looser I'm getting and the more expressive I'm getting, and I'm really liking these paintings more than the ones I was doing a few weeks ago. So I feel like I'm making a lot of progress with this, and I just love this really loose painterly effect that I'm getting. I'm trying to not be bogged down by details too much and get like a really loose and expressive way of painting. And I also found that I wasn't making my still life setups cluttered enough. And so my paintings were coming out and there wasn't enough in them to have interest. So they were quite bare, like there was a lot of empty space and negative space, which I feel like I don't really, I'm not really that drawn to. I do prefer there to be a lot of things happening. So this particular still life that I'm working on, I try to challenge myself and create a still life with a lot of clutter and a lot of things happening in it. And I think that I succeeded, and I'm really happy with this one. It's probably my favourite still life I've painted so far. I especially love the introduction of this ceramic parrot and a few little ceramic birds that I got. It sort of adds a little bit of interest other than just, pots and cups and fruit. I sort of found that I really enjoyed painting these little ceramic birds as well, getting all the reflections and the different light and trying to, simplify a really complex sort of item, even though they're smooth, ceramic birds. They've got like a lot of light reflecting off them and a bit of like a lot happening. So I found it really fun to sort of reduce that down to its sort of simple forms and reflections. So I've been having a lot of fun doing that. And the books that I purchased on Still Life have been really helpful because I've been looking through and just seeing how other artists approach it and seeing how they, tackle, light and like getting textures and all these different things to work together. And I also concentrated a lot more on refining my palette in this painting. I kind of modified what I was looking at a little bit. So instead of just painting the colours that I saw in the still life in front of me, I kind of muted the palette and made sure everything worked together a bit nicer. And so I was really happy with how that came out. So the colours really work really harmoniously in this painting. And I did actually end up changing a few things around. I'll add in another picture at the end of these little videos of what it looks like when I finished it, because one of the pink pots in the background I ended up changing to orange because I found that there was a little bit too much just pink flatness happening in the background. So I ended up changing that one with all the plant coming out of it to the right. I ended up changing that to orange. So I will show you a picture of that at the end, but this is what it was looking like at one stage, and I didn't really change it much from here, but I did alter the colour of the pot a bit just to make it a bit more interesting. But yeah, so I was really happy with this. This is, like I said, one of my favourite still lifes that I've done so far. It is available to purchase on my website. However, I am quite tempted to just keep it for myself because I really like it. I think it's a little bit quirky, it's really bright and quite happy looking. So now we get onto something totally non-art related. A few weekends ago, my partner and I went out on our new boat for the first time. So we have had boats for many years, and we recently sold our old boat, which was a smaller, little half cabin boat, and decided to purchase this beautiful creature, which is a cabin cruiser. So although this may seem like extravagant, she is an old girl. This boat was made in 1994 or 5, I think. So, she's definitely not a brand new boat, but she is in beautiful condition. And we decided to do this because when we do go out fishing, we spend all day on the water. So we usually hire a caravan park site or an Airbnb to stay in at night time, but we don't really use that accommodation at all because we're usually out on the boat all day. So we've been discussing this for quite a few years, and we decided that we were just going to purchase a boat that we could actually sleep in. So this is Caraboat. I know that seems really cheesy, but we named it Caraboat because it's basically a caravan that's a boat. It has enough room for 4 people to sleep. There's a toilet, there is a shower, there is a little kitchen area. It has everything that you would need to stay on the water for, a few days quite comfortably. So we launched the boat for the first time this weekend that we took it out, and we had a fantastic time. So we do not regret this decision at all. So this is a little shot. I know it's looking a bit messy, but this is a bit of a shot of the inside of the boat. So you can see with the couch I'm laying on, this folds out into a double bed, and then there is another bed up underneath the back of the boat as well. And yeah, we loved it. We had a fantastic weekend. We were really blessed with the weather. My partner does get a little bit seasick if the weather is a bit choppy. So for this first experience, we were lucky with the weather. We were a little bit worried how he would go staying on the boat non-stop, but he was actually fine. He had no worries whatsoever. So that was good. But yeah, it was beautiful. We absolutely loved it. We saw seals, we saw dolphins, we had some beautiful sunsets, which you can see the photos of now, and it was really relaxing, and we cannot wait for the summertime to come around again so that we can go out on this more often. And yeah, we absolutely loved it. So I thought you might like to see our new boat. So the other thing that I've been doing a lot of for the last few weeks is playing around in Procreate. Now, I am 100% dedicated to being a traditional artist. I think that while digital art is fantastic and it has its place, I don't think it will ever replace the feeling of actually painting and drawing on paper and canvas and the physical aspects of creating art. But that being said, I have really been interested in learning how to paint digitally for ages, and I have attempted it quite a few different times over the years, but I've never really found my way of doing it. I've tried a few tutorials, but I could just never get into it. So I recently decided to start getting into it again, just because I go through these stages of wanting to learn, and I came across a few tutorials on YouTube actually that caught my attention, and so I decided to get back into drawing with Procreate. And so these are some illustrations that I created on Procreate recently, and I thought I would show you the process of creating them. So these are I actually approach these in a much different way to what I normally do. So for example, I have been watching a few Skillshare videos and some YouTube videos of creating drawings and illustrations in Procreate. And I've sort of been picking up a few different techniques, and I've downloaded a few new brush packs, and I've sort of found my way of doing something in a way that feels right for me. So basically, I'm just drawing and colouring it in as if it's a colouring book. So I'm finding that I'm really enjoying this process, though. It doesn't involve lots of layers, and I think that's what kind of throws me and what confuses me the most about digital painting. It's having to think about building up things in layers and putting all the layers in the right order and adding textures and things. And that just doesn't feel like an organic process to me. And so with the way that I'm doing these illustrations is I'm literally just using one brush, which is just the standard 6B pencil brush that comes in Procreate. And I'm just colouring in as if I would if it was, a sketchbook or colouring in book. So and the only layers I'm really creating is like this initial sketch layer that I do. I then do another layer where I refine the sketch a little bit more. And then once I've refined the sketch and I'm happy with the sketch, I just colour it in. And I really like this process. I like the texture that you get with this 6B pencil brush and the way that it just feels really natural. It feels like I'm colouring in my own sketchbook. I'm not worrying too much about different layers and effects and shadows and things like that. So I I really liked it. So I did slowly get better at this. This illustration, or these groups of illustrations I created them over a few different days. And so you can see that to begin with, I wasn't really sure what I was doing. And then I started adding in a layer of an undercolor to then illustrate on top of, and that worked much better. So I kept doing that. I am working from references. These were just Pinterest photos that I looked up. I just, searched for rainbow birds and a whole heap of birds came up. So I started drawing those, and I kind of didn't really know what I wanted to do with them. I was just, experimenting and playing around and drawing. So I was really happy with how these came out, and I feel like the more birds that I did, the better I got and the more refined my technique got. And so this little guy, this kingfisher, is actually probably my favourite one. I think that I did a really good job on him, so I'm really happy with him. But yeah, it was a really interesting process, and I feel like now, after lots of trial and error over the years, I'm starting to sort of get my feel for it. So I did also recently invest in an Apple Pen, which made a huge difference. And before that, I was just using a regular stylus or my fingers, which just wasn't working. So I invested in an Apple Pen. I also, as I mentioned earlier, invested in a few different new brush packs, and I've been watching lots of tutorials, and I'm really having fun learning. And I'm really liking how I can just kind of relax on the couch and colour in and draw these little illustrations without having to get all of my materials out. I can just lay in bed and do it, which is, again, the benefit of digital painting, is that, you don't need anything except for your iPad to do it. No materials, no mess. Super easy. So yeah, I'm really interested in continuing to do this, and I want to do more of them. And so I ended up deciding, when I got to about halfway through this little kingfishery guy, I decided that I would try and make this into a repeat pattern. I was going to do a few more birds, but then I decided to create some sort of tropical flowers to go into a pattern with these birds. So I did struggle a little bit with the flowers using this colouring in technique, because with the birds, because of all the feathers, you can kind of be really sketchy with it, but the flowers were a bit harder to sort of make like they, the reflections and things. I had to play around with it a little bit, but I finally got there in the end and I was happy with how they came out. I wanted to keep it still sketchy, as though I was still colouring, with pencil. But yeah, it was a struggle there for a little while, but I did get there in the end, and I was quite happy with how they turned out. And so once I coloured in these flowers, I then decided to put together a bit of a random repeatable pattern, which again, I had to look up a few tutorials on YouTube. God bless YouTube, and work out how to do that on Procreate. I have made repeatable patterns before, but I've only done it in Photoshop, and so I kind of knew the process of how to do it, but I didn't quite know how to navigate my way around Procreate as a program to create the patterns. It sort of involves, you've got to select things and move things around, and in order for the pattern to repeat, there's a certain way that you have to lay out everything so that when it gets essentially stamped in a repeat, everything lines up. And so it's really important to get it all to line up correctly. And so I had to learn how to do that. So if you're interested in how to do that, there is some really fantastic tutorials available on YouTube. Just search how to create a repeatable pattern in Procreate, and literally hundreds of videos will come up. So anyway, I learned how to do that, and once I'd learned how to do that, I was playing around. And so I did a few different versions before I was happy with it, but eventually I got a little repeatable pattern that I really liked, and so I will show you that pattern. But yeah, I was really happy with these, and I am really keen to sort of play around with this Procreate little program quite a bit more. As I said, I have picked it up a few times and then put it down and got bored with it. But I think this time it's like something just clicked in my brain and I finally got how to do it. So this is the repeat pattern that I created, and I know it's a little bit, bright and over the top, but that's what I was going for. This is what it looks like once I uploaded it to Redbubble. And then I decided as well to make a pattern out of just this little bird because I really liked the colouring, and so I made another repeat pattern out of him. And you can actually purchase stickers and printed items with this pattern as well. I like this pattern because it's a bit more subtle, but if you go to Redbubble, you can purchase those things on Redbubble. Again, there will be a link in the description. So there you go. that's what I've been doing for the last couple of weeks. There's a few things that I wanted to mention at the end before I sign off. The first thing is that I do have some more art books available on my website. I mentioned my art books a few vlogs ago, and I had a lot of people asking about purchasing them, and there wasn't any available at that stage, but I have restocked my shop. So if you go to the link in the description below, you'll be able to order it directly from my website. And the other thing I have recently launched is a new Skillshare class. This one is all about unblocking your art block. So it just has a few tips and a few prompts in it about how to push past art block, or how to come up with ideas of what to paint when you're really not feeling like it, or you don't know where to begin. So you can get access to that through Skillshare by the link below. If you're not a member of Skillshare, you can also purchase access to the class through Teachable. So you can just pay a one-off payment to get the class, and then you have lifetime access to it. So the links to both of those are down below. And yeah, I think that's all I really had to talk about. So so yeah, I think so. Anyway, thanks for joining me, and I will see you again next time.